Kanye West had a very, very bad week this past week. He lost his endorsement deal with Adidas. Okay. I think that was on Monday. It's a good article from NBC News dealing with this. And it's from Tuesday. Yeah, he lost his endorsement deal with Adidas. We know in September he lost his endorsement deal with the Gap. We've also seen this past week Foot Locker is pulling his Yeezy sneakers and clothing, whatever they sell. Also, TJ Maxx is pulling his apparel also. Okay, so this is a very bad week for him. We've seen some other fallout behind the interview that he did on Drink Champs. And we saw statements from the Anti-Defamation League this week also. Now, what's interesting, so he made what many call some anti-Semitic remarks. Now, I don't think he's anti-Semitic. I don't think he hates Jewish people or Jews or things like that. Okay. He did walk back some of his comments and he did apologize also. But what I do find interesting, and we're going to deal with this in the first segment of the show here, and we're going to deal with what we know so far of the contract that he has with Adidas. Okay. Because they have apparently more power than a lot of people on social media think that they have. What I find really interesting, and I posted about this on our Facebook fan page, the African History Network, about this, and it got over one post got, was it 5,000 likes, something like that. Remember back in 2018 when Kanye West said slavery sounds like a choice? Slavery sounds like a choice. He did not lose a single endorsement deal contract behind that. No corporations cut ties with him. All the anti-African American things he said, wearing the jacket with the Confederate battle flag on it, he didn't lose any endorsement deals behind that. In a week, and according to Forbes, he lost his billionaire status also. So we talked about things like this on this show before. How is it that you can say whatever you want to about African Americans with impunity, but you step out of line with other ethnic groups and you lose your relationship with Chase Bank? You get escorted out of Skechers. You lose your Foot Locker deal, Adidas deal, TJ Maxx. Now, what's interesting is he got all those deals after calling African Americans the N-word in his music. Now, I'm not saying he's a hateful person. Okay. Yeah, he had some music that's more conscious than a lot of other hip hop out there, but that's not saying a whole lot. But see, this is the same thing that I said dealing with DaBaby. When DaBaby got uninvited from Coachella, DaBaby did a 2-minute rant on stage while performing. And he made comments that were against the LGBT community, things like this. He lost his shirt for 2 minutes. 2-minute rant, not 2 minutes in the music video, not 2 minutes on a record, not 2 minutes in a song, on stage, 2 minutes. DaBaby has CDs that dehumanize African Americans, call us the N-word and B's and thoughts, all this. He gets invited to perform at Coachella and all these other festivals, dehumanizing African Americans. He steps out of line for 2 minutes and all that gets snatched from him. Kanye West has made anti-African American statements in the past. Not only that, he's a big Donald Trump supporter. He went to the White House and sat in Trump's office and buck danced for about 10 minutes. He didn't lose any contract behind that. He didn't lose Adidas. He didn't lose TJ Maxx. He didn't lose Foot Locker. He didn't lose any of these white corporations. But then he starts talking about some of the heads of these corporations. He starts with Drink Champs. He starts talking about how in this negative corporate controlled hip hop environment controlled by white corporations, he starts talking about how they can put out music that talks about killing African Americans. Now all of a sudden there's a problem. And now we've talked about this stuff here on this show before. And I'm not a fan of Kanye. I'm not a fan of Kanye West at all, period. He's a Trump supporter. He went on Tucker Carlson's show. Tucker Carlson is one of the biggest white supremacists there is. Tucker Carlson is the darling of Fox News. He took over after Bill O'Reilly's show got canceled. Tucker Carlson is pushing white placement theory. Okay, they're using Kanye. Kanye, we know he was diagnosed being bipolar back in 2016, if I remember correctly. Okay, he needs to sit down, be quiet, and take his medication. He needs to have people around him that put his medication, orange juice or whatever it is, slip him his medication, because we shouldn't have to deal with the repercussions of his mental illness. African Americans shouldn't have to deal with the repercussions of his mental illness. Okay. With that being said, even a broken clock is right twice a day. But that ain't the clock that you should use to tell time, because most of the time you're going to be wrong. Okay. But I find it very interesting how he can. So also there's some backlash behind him wearing a White Lives Matter shirt along with Candace Owens, rightfully so. Oh, rightfully so. But I just find it interesting. You know, I posted this on a fan page, the African History Network. Let me go to this post here that I did, because I've been reading articles all week, and there's two critical things that I want to deal with. One, I want to deal with some of the history of Adidas and Puma, because Adidas and Puma were founded by two brothers who were both Nazis. Are you walking around wearing Adidas? Are you wearing Puma? I'm just curious. I'm not saying stop wearing them, but, you know, we may want to rethink, you know, our spending patterns, our spending habits. Adidas and Puma were founded by two brothers who were both Nazis. So we're gonna deal with some of that history on today's show. We'll deal with that in the second hour. We want to talk some about what happened this week with Kanye, but there's some information I want to deal with the contract, because a lot of people don't seem to understand that Adidas is basically saying they're going to sell the designs that he has already done for them, and they just put a different name on it because they own that. He don't own that. So the deal is, once again, it's like when you go to if you go gambling at the casino. I don't do that. I work too hard for my money to go throw it away gambling. You know, I ain't. But the casinos are designed for the house to win. Now, you may win, you may have a system, you may win, but the casinos are not in business for you to win. Okay. With when you look at the Adidas, what we know about the Adidas contract, even though it's a lucrative contract for him, yes, a lucrative contract for him. But if it's lucrative for him, you think Adidas gets the losing end of the stick? No, that's not what happens. But he needs that distribution network. He needs that distribution network. He needs the distribution network of Foot Locker. Okay. He needs the distribution network of Skechers. So I saw people posting, and they were saying things like, you know, oh, he's free now and all this stuff, right? And I was like, no, that's not the case. The next day, he goes and tries to meet with Skechers. When we come back from the break, I'm going to tell you why he tried to meet with Skechers. Also, we're going to be joined by Marnese Jackson with the Midwest Building Decarbonization Coalition 2022 to talk about the Equity Summit coming up this week. It's a virtual summit. I will be speaking there as well. You don't want to miss that. Listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. No, African Americans spoke out against Kanye West comments. You just were not one of them. No, African Americans did speak out against his comments and say they were wrong and say he needs to sit his ass down and read a book and he does not understand history. No, he did. I talked about it on this show. I brought on Professor Kabahaiwata Kamene. Somebody said, I'm not even going to say your name because you really don't know what you're talking about. I don't want to embarrass you. African Americans did nothing about his comments. That's bullshit. You need to go do more research. That's bullshit. You just weren't hanging around the right people. The interview I did with Professor Kaba, that's on YouTube. That's on Facebook. That's archived. All this stuff is archived. It's documented. We dealt with that. Bathroom break in 4 minutes. Stand by. Stand by, everybody. Bathroom break in 4 minutes. Bathroom break in 3 minutes. Listen to the After History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation Future Radio. Stand by. Bathroom break in 3 minutes. Kanye. Bathroom break in 1 minute. Bathroom break in 1 minute. Stand by. Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, October 30th, 2022, and we are live. Calling numbers 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a quick question or comment. 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a quick question or comment. I have a guest coming up at the bottom of the hour, Marnese Jackson. So if you have a question or comment, we'll do that after the interview because we're going to talk about the Midwest Building Decarbonization Coalition 2022 Equity Summit. Is a virtual summit coming up November 2nd through the 4th. I will be speaking there on Wednesday and Friday. Okay, so you don't want to miss that. All right. On the African History Network show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's corrects your own behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday. We were talking some about midterm elections as well. Midterm elections are a few days away. We're going to talk about that and what's at stake with the midterm elections. Also, we're going to deal with what African Americans have gained from the Biden-Harris administration. You know, the document that I talk about, it was 19 pages that deals with how the policies of the Biden-Harris administration have helped African Americans. That document has been updated. It's now 22 pages, and it's at whitehouse.gov. The Biden-Harris administration advances equity and opportunity for Black Americans and communities across the country. You know, I deal with facts and evidence. I don't deal with opinions and beliefs. So I can walk you through step by step and show you policies that have positively helped African Americans. And then you compare that to what Republicans are trying to do. You compare that to what Republicans are trying to do, because what they're doing, what Republicans are proposing and what they're trying to do is largely against our interests. Okay, so let's go to this piece here from, well, actually, let me pull up the post here that I did on Facebook. So I posted this on our fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network. We did this October 25th, okay, which was Tuesday, October 25th. Can we zoom in on this? And I said, hopefully you all can see this. I said, what I find interesting is that no corporations cut ties with Kanye West when he said slavery was a choice. You only protect what you respect. You only protect what you respect. Now, this got over 7,000 likes. It's a fan page, the African History Network, 1,300 comments, okay? And then I did one. So you can, you know what? We'll let's see here. Let's pull this up. What I'll do is I'll repost this also. So you can comment on it as well if you want to. Then there was another post that I did. This dealt with the same thing, and I talked about Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson on Fox News, okay? One of the biggest purveyors of conspiracy theories, white supremacist conspiracy theories. He's a purveyor of the replacement theory, the great replacement theory also. I posted this about Tucker Carlson. This one got 3,000 likes and 827 comments so far. We should go after Tucker Carlson's advertisers on Fox News like corporations went after Kanye West. This is why Bill O'Reilly's show was canceled on Fox News, okay? You had organizations like Color Change and other organizations, other social justice organizations, things like this. They put pressure on 80 advertisers to withdraw support, economic support from Bill O'Reilly's show, The O'Reilly Factor, and his show was taken off the air. Okay. Now, yes, there was a sexual harassment lawsuit, but what happened was there was so much economic pressure on those corporations that his show was not profitable anymore. And Roger Ailes, who founded Fox News, Roger Ailes, you know, they fired him. Okay, they fired Bill O'Reilly. Okay. Let's go to this article here from NBC News. Here's what happened dealing with Adidas. Adidas terminates relationship with Kanye West after pressure to cut ties over anti-Semitic comments. Quote, Adidas does not tolerate anti-Semitism and any other sort of hate speech, end quote, the company said in the statement Tuesday. But he used the N-word in his music and you signed him to your deals. Now, when he said the N-word, I don't think he said it. He wasn't trying to be hateful towards African Americans, but it's still, I mean, I just find it interesting. Everybody else is protected. Every other ethnic group is protected except African Americans. Because with us, you can say whatever you want to about us. Or white corporations will let African American artists put out all type of music that dehumanizes, call us the N-word, B's, H's, thoughts, things like this, put out WAP with Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion. Okay, the bass line says there's some whores in this house. It's repeated about 79 times. Apparently, it's found with Atlantic Records. They're the one that financed WAP and the music video. Okay, when you watch and you look at the video, all the women in the video are of African descent except Kylie Jenner, who's part of the family that Kanye West married into, which is totally problematic because he married into a family of culture vultures. He married into a family that largely has made a lot of money off of African American culture. But the other thing is, now this may go outside this compass of some people's awareness, right? Kanye West married into a family that got rich off of a black man's penis. What do I mean by that? Well, who is the most famous Kardashian? Kim Kardashian. So the family became famous from the reality TV show. How did the family get the reality TV show? From the sex tape that Kim Kardashian made with who? Ray J. People knew Ray J, but they didn't know Kim Kardashian. The mother, Kim Kardashian's mother, negotiated the deal with Vivid Entertainment. Vivid Entertainment, for those that don't know, they produce adult films. They signed the biggest deal for like a celebrity sex tape. And to this day, if I remember correctly, it's the best-selling celebrity sex tape. From the celebrity sex tape that they did of Kim Kardashian having sex with Ray J, from that celebrity sex tape, this whole family gets a reality TV show, Keeping Up with the Kardashians. The family got rich off of a black man's penis. This is the family that he married into, Kanye West. Now, here's the other thing, right? Corinne Steffens had a sex tape as well. Now, they had a derogatory term for her. We're not going to say that here on the show. Now, she did, right? She was, having sex or performing sexual acts for money. That is true, okay? But she put out a sex tape, right? Notice how she got treated like a pariah. And when somebody wanted to marry her, they were laughed at. But it was different when Kanye married Kim Kardashian. It wasn't the same stigma. Now, yes, Kim Kardashian, to my knowledge, she didn't have performed sexual acts for money, so to speak, like Corinne Steffens, okay? But it's like one gets put up on a pedestal, and the other one can't get away from that stigma of what she did in the past. Notice the difference between the two. They both had sex tapes because she did a sex tape, Corinne Steffens. So Mr. Marcus put out the sex tape that he did with Corinne Steffens, and that became marketed as well. And that was a pretty popular celebrity tape, whatever, okay? But notice the difference. They go on, now Kylie Jenner, her sister, is a billionaire. They go on and have all types of deals, do commercials, all this stuff. Corinne Steffens can't really shake the whole image around her. So one gets elevated, the other gets dehumanized, so to speak, and they both had sex tapes with black men. I just find the whole thing interesting. So I dealt with this with Tucker Carlson. And, on Roland Martin Unfiltered, we talked about Tucker Carlson last Friday. Okay. We talked about Tucker Carlson last Friday. There was a article from .com. There was a number of articles because one fool on social media, the post with Tucker Carlson, he said, provide evidence that Tucker Carlson's a white supremacist, things like this. And then I dropped about 6 articles on him, and everybody commented. One person said the African History Network literally said, hold my beer, and dropped the knowledge on him. Okay. This article right here dealing with from the Wrap, okay, from the wrap.com. Tucker Carlson is the most racist show in the history of cable news, New York Times reports. Tucker Carlson is the most racist show in the history of cable news, New York Times reports. Okay, so we'll talk about this after the interview. We have Marnese Jackson coming up here in just a minute. Here's to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by, back from break in 4 minutes. Stand by. Back from break in 4 minutes. Stand by. We'll continue this with Kanye some more after this interview. Hold on. What you said something. Hold on. Because my guest should be calling in. Oh, guest is on. Okay, yeah, Marnese is on. Call Larry and Robert. Yeah, tell Larry and Robert we'll come to them after I do this interview, okay? All right, thanks. Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, October 30th, Sunday, October 30th, 2022, and we are live. All right. On the line, we're joined by Marnese Jackson, who is with the Midwest Building Decarbonization Coalition, and she's here to talk about their 2022 Equity Summit, their 2022 Equity Summit that is taking place Wednesday, November 2nd through Friday, November 4th, and it is a virtual summit. Welcome back to the African History Network show. Marnese Jackson, how you doing today, Marnese?
Hi, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm all right. Better now that I'm talking to you, Marnese. But hey, it's going all right. This is it's going all right. It's a hot show. I wanted to have you on because what you're doing is fantastic, and oftentimes I think when it comes to in the environment and understanding environmental issues. I think over the last maybe 2 or 3 years, people are learning more about how it impacts African Americans. But for a long time, environmental issues were just associated with white people, so to speak. Okay, oftentimes. But I think now more people would like with climate change and hurricanes hitting with more frequency, like in places like Florida and hitting in southern states, Georgia, etc. So give us some background information on the Midwest Building Decarbonization Coalition. What do you all do, and what's your position with them?
Thank you so much, Michael, and thanks for having me here at the Everton History Network.
You're welcome, Marnese.
So the Midwest Building Decarbonization Coalition was founded in 2019 to play a leadership role convening stakeholders and allies around the regional decarbonization strategy. And so what that means is within this 8-state region across the region of Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, Ohio, and Wisconsin, I co-direct this coalition alongside with my other two co-directors, Margaret Hendrick and Jacob Surfling. They are in 2 different states as well.
Okay.
The focus is to take on climate change as it relates to the building sector. So we spend the majority of our time in homes, 90%. And when we are faced with cold climates, we end up facing the most pollutant outcomes within our homes. So that means
what type of outcome?
Where we go to work, where we go to school.
Marnese, what type of outcome did you say? You said, did you say prudent outcome? What type of outcome?
So due to the climate change issues, and for those who are not familiar with climate change, those it's caused by these harmful emissions that's going up in the air due to CO2 emissions.
Okay.
So that can come by way of methane gas, CO2 emissions, the things that we love so much, that we need so much, is harming us. And so we're going to start seeing more disasters like tornadoes, hurricanes. We know we just seen Hurricane Ian. We know the historic Hurricane Katrina. So we're going to start seeing more storms like that. Now, as this relates to us, when we start to see more storms like that, we're going to experience here in Michigan, because we're in Michigan, where I'm at right now, we're going to experience the tornadoes, more drought, things of that nature. And so what does this have to do with buildings? Because where we eat, where we live, where we go to school, we go to work, we have to generate our energy. And you have different sources by way you can do that, through electricity, and also we have to heat our homes. And in Michigan specifically, we heat our homes by way of gas. And so the best way to mitigate climate change is to have cleaner options like wind, solar, geothermal, and access to energy efficiency, which will lower your utility rates.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and so why the building sector is important, because when you're in your home 90% of the time, you are ingesting these harmful particles like those CO2 emissions that I mentioned that may come from your appliance. So if you're not switching to more electrical appliances, you either may have a gas stove. And so maybe you have gas appliances, which means that you're consuming methane gas, which causes upper respiratory diseases like asthma, bronchitis, and things of that nature. On top of that, it also causes high utility rates. And so for those who may not be familiar with that, DTE Energy or Consumers Energy are our 2 most popular utility providers within the Southeast Michigan area, which is predominantly Black, brown communities and low-income communities. And so they do not provide us access to cleaner energy options, the ones that are listed. And so that means when you don't have cleaner energy options, then you may experience economic issues, health issues, and of course, there's that racial justice lens with that.
Okay, so you mentioned bronchitis asthma, a couple other illnesses. What were the other illnesses that you mentioned?
Well, upper respiratory, those are like the main two.
Upper respiratory. Okay, so upper respiratory illnesses and a larger amount of cases of upper respiratory illnesses that is associated with climate change and problems in the environment. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and this disproportionately negatively impacts African Americans.
Yes. As we all know that when America gets a cold, Black people, we get pneumonia.
Right.
And so this is true in the same regard of our utility rates, environmental issues. And when we're thinking about the environment, we're thinking about anything like lead in our water, which we all seen in Flint, Detroit, and it's still happening. But then also in the building sector, which we don't focus much on because, even those issues are very important. Right. We're just not really starting to pay more attention to the building sector. These issues are just as important because during the pandemic, we all know we were indoors and we saw a large rate of asthma cases, not just due to the pandemic, but also due to us being indoors all the time because we had to, right? Right. And so there's definitely a correlation between the housing, redlining, because a lot of us live in older housing, which means we may not have an energy efficient home like the ones that we see are getting built in suburbs or just newly built in communities. And so with a lot of us in these Black and brown communities, we still live in these older houses, which have not been upgraded. The buildings are pretty much out of code, which also causes the economic issues.
So what we're looking at, dealing with climate change and the environment, dealing with, it could be health issues that pertain to the African American community, as well as economic issues, which causes us to spend more on our energy bill.
Yes.
Okay.
And by the way, like I said, I was talking about DTE Energy. Now talk about consumers. These two utility companies, because we're like in this area, they dictate where our energy comes from. So right now it's either oil or gas. And
oil
if
or
we
gas.
as advocates, communities don't look at where our energy comes from or the different options of other options that you may not be privy to, then we're going to end up having a health risk and economic risk, and this is definitely predominantly in Black and brown communities. And so DTE Energy is most likely will be having another rate increase, and you probably wonder why. Why am I having this, and shouldn't I be able to dictate where my energy comes from? Right. And so you don't know about this because a lot of this is not made public.
Right.
But we do, and this is where the importance of getting out to vote, because DTE is regulated by the Public Service Commission, which is an appointed position by the governor. And so these commissioners are appointed.
Appointed is a position appointed by the governor. Go ahead. We're coming up on a break in 2 minutes. Go ahead.
Yes. Okay, so they're appointed by the governor, and they decide whether or not they want to hold DTE Energy consumers and any other utility company in Michigan accountable. So there's a whole process to intervene. And intervening in a case is pretty much a lawsuit in a rate case. So a rate case is just where they decide, it's like this year, like a whole, like maybe 10-year plan to decide if they're going to put in a new gas pipeline or oil pipeline, or if they decide to have more clean energy options. Right. And most of the time, these plans, they do not have clean energy options.
Okay. We're coming up on a break. When we come back from the break, we'll talk about the Midwest Building Decarbonization Coalition's 2022 Equity Summit taking place November 2nd through the 4th, 2022. I will be speaking there. on Wednesday and Friday. And Marnese Jackson will be there also. So virtual summit. All right, stand by, Marnese. Okay, you listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by, bathroom break in 4 minutes. Bathroom break in 4 minutes. Bathroom break in 3 minutes. Stand by. Bathroom break in 2 minutes, everybody. We'll go back to Kanye West we'll go back to Kanye West, and we're going to deal with some of the history of Adidas, because Adidas and Puma were both founded by two Nazis. We'll deal with that after this interview. Stand by. Bathroom break in 1 minute. Stand by. Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, October 30th, 2022, and we are speaking with Miss Marnese Jackson, who is with the Midwest Building Decarbonization Coalition, and she is informing us about climate change, how climate change impacts the African American community, and she's going to give us some information about their 2022 Equity Summit, that's coming up Wednesday, November 2nd through Friday, November 4th, 2022. It's a virtual summit, so you can watch from around the world. And I will be speaking there also on Wednesday and Friday, and Marnese will be speaking as well. So, Marnese, okay, so welcome back. And let people know what your position is with the Midwest Building Decarbonization Coalition, please.
Thank you, Michael. Can you hear me better?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you better. Thank you.
Okay, great. So at the Midwest Building Decarbonization Coalition, I and I manage the equity engagement. And so with this year's summit, we're focusing on self-determination, Kwanzaa, Kuji Chagalia, excuse me for mispronouncing.
Kuji Chagalia? Yes.
Yes. I just can't talk well. That's just me. And so we're focusing on self-determination because we want communities to really empower themselves to take on policies like the Infant Reduction Act.
Yes.
And so with this Equity Summit, we're going to be focusing on topics like reparations, land back, because building decarbonization is talking about the built environment and not perpetuating the same harms that communities of color have experienced due to white supremacy culture. We talked a lot about the process of how you're going to can get engaged, of course, what building decarbonization is. Might be more important right now to get involved with this, especially in regards to the Inflation Reduction Act that was just passed, and then also the implementation, because there's an opportunity to look into the green economy for new jobs, opportunity for contractors, opportunity for new job creation, and then also we're going to be talking about those topics that we just don't want to talk about. Like I said, white supremacy culture, racism, and how it relates to the movement. Because with climate change, we're going to still see these storms, right? We're going to still see climate impacts happening. So communities have to become more resilient, but then also we have to switch our thinking to liberation thinking, right, of what does a energy sovereign society looks like. How do we dictate where our energy comes from? Because where we power our electricity and heat is causing climate change by way of these greenhouse gas emissions, CO2 emissions. So you have to go back to biology class to understand all that. Either way it goes, all this is hurting our communities, right? And we, like I said before, with these two storms happening all the time and frequently, and like I think in the fall we just had a couple days, Detroit residents experienced maybe 2 to 3 days of shutoffs because of a storm we had, and residents only received like a $25 voucher if you lost like a quarter of your groceries and things of that nature. And we all know the inflation right now, the groceries, you're going to pay at least $400 for some groceries per household. So things like that, we talk about aligning what does reparations look like when things like that happen, because if you had a reliable grid with clean energy, i.e. solar or wind, we wouldn't be worrying about that. So we're going to be dispelling the false narrative. Then when you're talking about how communities can really start to engage more communities in this, because quite frankly, these are community conversations. These are impacting our lives economically and, of course, health, right?
Right.
So these are topics that we're going to be looking at.
Okay, give people the website so they can register for this conference. And how much does it cost for people to attend this virtual conference?
So guess what? It is free.
It's free.
And it's
you're gonna get all this. You're gonna get all this for free, and Michael Imhotep is speaking as well on 2 days. You're gonna get all this for free.
Yes, yes, you get it for free. Just log on to Zoom, and you can register. And MidwestDecarb.org. We have a lot of great speakers. We have
give the website, Marnese. Give the website again and speak slowly, please.
Okay, MidwestDecarb.org/summit.
Okay, MidwestDecarb.org/summit. We have it up here on the screen. Yep. You can go there. You can register for the conference. They also have a full schedule of the conference. Go ahead and continue, Marnese, please.
So we're going to have some awesome speakers. Like I said, Brother Michael Imhotep. We have Swartos Olatin. She is a pioneer in the environmental and climate justice movement. We have Dr. Harvell from Henry Ford Community College. We have Isaiah Zeke Williams from New Era, Detroit. Mm-hmm. And we have a lot of community organizers who will be a part of the panels. We definitely know we talk about hot topics, like I said, reparations, where we at with that, land back initiatives, aligning African Americans, Africans with Indigenous, like how we can support each other, because it's time out for oppression Olympics.
Right.
And also it's time for us to be really supporting each other. And also, we'll be talking about regulatory. What does that mean to get involved within the regulatory? And yes, we know that this is very technical, but we want people. We're going to definitely be meeting people where we are. That's why we centered the topics around self-determination.
Okay. Now explain. We're coming up on a break in a couple minutes, and if you got a few more minutes, I'm gonna hold you over the break, because I want to hone in on this. The Inflation Reduction Act. You mentioned that, and I know you are bipartisan, but on this show we're not, and this is my show. So just so people know, the Inflation Reduction Act, no Republicans in the House or the Senate voted for the bill. Okay, just so people understand this. But explain explain how the Inflation Reduction Act will help African Americans and communities of color.
Okay, the Inflation Reduction Act, of course, is very landmark, and it's to curb the reducing deficit by lowering, of course, prescription drugs. Oh my goodness, and investing into domestic energy production while promoting clean energy. Mm-hmm. So this is what the Building Decarbonization is about. We want clean energy options.
Right.
And that is sustainable, right?
Right.
We want wind, hydroelectric power,
hold it right there, Marnese.
Thermal, and energy efficiency.
Marnese, we're coming up on the break. Hold it right there. We're going to pick this up on the other side of the break. Marnese Jackson is explaining to us what the Inflation Reduction Act is and how it's going to help African Americans and communities of color. You listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by, everybody. Stand by. Back from break in 3 minutes. Ariana, Bloomberg, Forbes had Kanye West's net worth at about $2 billion, but Bloomberg had it at $6 billion. And Bloomberg estimated that the value of his contracts with Adidas and one other company was roughly about $4 billion or $4.5 billion. Back from break in 2 minutes. Stand by. Back from breaking 1 minute, everybody. I'm going to post a link here again. You can register for this conference. It's free to register. It's free to attend this environmental conference, and I'll be speaking there. Marnese will be speaking there also. I'm speaking on Wednesday and Friday. Back from breaking 1 minute. Stand by.
910 AM Superstation, a division of Adele Media. We got the topics, the guests, the opinions, and the facts.
I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the After-History Network Show. We deal with current events and history and much, much more. We're going to give you an update on what's going on. This is about self-preservation. We have to extinguish the fire of white supremacy to electrify consequences.
Catch it all right here on 910 AM Superstation. The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of 910 AM Superstation or Adele Media.
Welcome back to the After History Network show. All right, we are speaking with Marnese Jackson with the Midwest Building Decarbonization Coalition, and she is giving us information about their 2022 Equity Summit, as well as how climate change negatively impacts the African American community. And right before the break, she was explaining to us the Inflation Reduction Act. The Inflation Reduction Act that recently passed in the House and the Senate and was signed into law by President Biden. And she was talking about how the Inflation Reduction Act provisions in it that will help the African American community. These are some of the things that we're going to talk about at the conference as well. So, Marnese, thanks for coming back for this segment. Go ahead and finish your thoughts dealing with the Inflation Reduction Act.
Okay, thanks so much. So, with the Inflation Reduction Act signed by President Biden, so there's the healthcare insurance premium and coverage will definitely help African Americans. But in regards to combating climate change and lowering energy costs, the Inflation Reduction Act takes the most aggressive action on climate and clean energy in American history. So the legislation will bring down energy costs for Black families and create thousands of good jobs. And while reducing climate pollution, it will also secure energy supply as well. So it makes home energy upgrades more affordable. You can replace air conditioners, water heaters, or furnaces, and you can save up pretty much to 30% with tax credits for efficient heating and cooling equipment. Households can save up to 30% with tax credits for home construction projects. So this is an opportunity to expand contractors and construction jobs. And definitely this is lacking within the Black community because we're only representing 1% within the energy job sector. And so construction projects can mean windows, door installation, or weatherization projects. Families can replace or upgrade stoves, right? I was talking about those gas stoves and other home appliances.
Right.
And they can get direct rebates by buying more energy and electric appliances. Families in affordable housing units, for example, could boost their energy efficiency and improve their indoor air quality, which will also make our communities more climate resilient. And then families could save more than, I believe they said, $1,000 per year on energy tax credits.
Okay, yeah, because I know there are commercials running now that talk about the benefits of the Inflation Reduction Act, and I know it'll reduce, I think it's maybe about $1,800 a year in savings when it comes to energy for families. So it is going to do a lot. There was a good article from Axios.com, and this is in the Midwest Building Decarbonization Coalition's Facebook page. There's a good article that they have from Axios.com called, and I have it up here on the screen for those that are watching on Facebook and YouTube. The unequal toll of climate disasters, the unequal toll of climate disasters. September 21st, 2022, this article came out. And in the article, it talked about the big picture, Black and Latino communities in the U.S. have long been burdened by the disproportionate impacts of climate change. Okay. And it goes on to say, it talks about 5 years after the devastation of Hurricane Maria, Puerto Rico was reeling from Hurricane Fiona, which unleashed heavy rains, winds, and mudslides on the island and left most households without electricity or access to running water. And then it goes on to talk, it says, for starters, community of color are less likely to receive disaster relief aid, especially when compared to white affluent households and the communities they live in, according to FEMA's 2020 National Advisory Council report. Then the article goes on to talk about hurricanes leave lasting scars by disrupting public health and healthcare delivery. Hospitals shut down and patients' care is halted by power outages. So give us some more information here, because a lot of times, once again, when the Inflation Reduction Act is going to address a lot of these issues and address climate change. This is the largest investment when it comes to fighting against climate change in the history of this country. Okay, so talk some more about how climate change, how the Inflation Reduction Act will help with this, and how climate change impacts African Americans. And these are some of the things we're going to discuss at the conference as well.
Yes, and so the impact on African, Latinx, Indigenous, low-income communities, the impacts are just that. With not having running water, of course, if your house is getting flooded, you got to, of course, do everything over, but then there's not adequate flood insurance, and sometimes that's not even covered in insurances. But then also the displacement that people don't like to lift up. We've seen this where residents have to go to different states. They may actually have to live there for like years, months, and then of course there's the new culture to moving into a different city, a different state. And we saw that within Hurricane Katrina, the narrative of New Orleans residents moving to Houston. Some did well, but then, however, some did not adjust very well. But then when they come back to their communities, they see a lot of different changes with rising costs of housing, gentrification, for example.
Yes.
Gentrification, but then also it's a setup for an emergency management system.
Right.
And then it's also, as we see within the case study of New Orleans, students didn't return back to a public school system. Most of them returned back to a charter school system. And so we all know they may not experience quality education, right? And so those are the aftermaths, not to mention the emotional shocks, right? The spiritual, the mental health. I don't know if we all seen the video or the documentary, Hurricane Katrina. It came on HBO, like the children of Hurricane Katrina, the mental health that came along with all that. And so within this Inflation Reduction Act, of course, we can't mitigate all those issues, right? Because these are going to continue to happen if we don't aggressively switch to clean energy, have different practices personally. But in the Inflation Reduction Act, upgrading to affordable housing to enforce homes against climate impacts, right? To increase water and energy efficiency, and then also expanding urban and community programs, like with tree planting projects, right? People think it's okay to cut the trees. No, we need to plant trees that will help cool neighborhoods with a priority for projects that benefit underserved communities. Advancing transportation equity and resilience with the neighborhood access and equity program. And so this is important because when these disasters happen, to get out of the cities or the state's transportation or mass transportation, it may not be accessible. And so improving programs like walking, protect against energy or extreme heat or flooding impacts. So projects like those, and then also expansion into lower costs for small businesses. So small business can receive tax credits that cover 30% of switching over to lower cost solar power. And then also smaller business can deduct up to like 1 point per square foot of their business for making high energy or efficiency upgrades. So this is how Building Decarb relates to climate change and the Inflation Reduction Act. And not to mention good paying jobs, right?
Exactly.
And so another thing we're going to be talking about is workforce development.
Okay. Workforce development.
How the barriers of workforce development, like with our returning citizens, right? Yes. This is an equity issue because we know that returning citizens may not have access to jobs. So we're trying to eliminate a lot of barriers, with background checks and things of that nature when we're thinking about the policies that are going to be coming down. Because if they can't get access to the jobs that they want, this is a new gateway for them to get new jobs within this new clean energy sector.
Okay. So the website, once again, everybody, is Midwest Decarb, DECARB, MidwestDecarb.org/summit, SUMMIT. And I'm speaking on Wednesday and Friday. I'm on a panel. Marnese asked me to be a part of this fantastic conference. This is a powerful, powerful conference. And before you go, Marnese, so on Wednesday, November 2nd, 3 p.m. to 3:50 p.m. or 4 p.m., something like that, advancing reparations and building decarbonization. This is one of the panel discussions I'm on. And this is when you go to the website, everybody, you click on full schedule, you'll see it, you'll see the information, you see the picture of me here. Give us one synopsis of what this panel discussion will be about. And is moderated, is facilitated by Marnese Jackson as well, who we have with us today. Give us some 1 minute synopsis of what this panel will be about.
Okay, so reparations, we want reparations like when energy or climate impacts happen to be in the form of reparations.
Okay.
So if your life gets shut off due to DTE, they should pay the cost because they did not give us clean energy options, right? Mm-hmm. They should not be sending you a $25 check and you pay $400 for groceries. No.
You said, well, how much was the check? You said if they send how much of a check?
They said, my friend, $25. And she was like, no, I just paid $400 and some dollars for these groceries.
Who was that?
I said, this is a good time. My friend, Maria.
Okay, your friend. Okay, Maria. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So this session is definitely going to focus on tangible because, there's some conversation about what does reparations look like.
Right.
Could it be in the form of a check? Could it be education, student loan relief? This is a way for us to make things more tangible, but then also what does accountability look like, right? Mm-hmm. And if you think about accountability, environmental, climate, energy impacts, we can think about the Flint water crisis. They should be paid reparations, okay?
Right.
For example.
Right.
So when these things happen, we want to make sure that we're aligning these efforts with reparations. Something tangible is hold our government accountable for these atrocities that's going to happen.
Okay.
Since they say they are for the people, right?
Okay.
So this conversation will give us a history about it, but then it will also talk about how we align it with energy sovereignty.
Okay, everybody, it is Wednesday, November 2nd through Friday, November 4th, 2022. It is free. You can attend this, register online, virtual summit, midwestdecarb.org/summit. We'll put a link on our website, theafricanhistorynetwork.com, theafricanhistorynetwork.com. Marnese Chris Jackson, you know I'll do anything for you. Thanks for inviting me to speak at this conference, and we'll talk to you next time, okay?
All right, thank you so much, Michael, for having me, and I'll see you Wednesday.
All right, see you Wednesday. Have a great night. Okay, everybody, we'll be back in a few minutes. We'll go back to Kanye West. Then we're going to talk about midterm elections as well. You listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by. Bathroom break in 4 minutes. Stand by. Bathroom break in 3 minutes, everybody. Stand by. Bathroom break in 1 minute. Welcome back to the African History Network show. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. The calling number is 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. All right, that was a fantastic interview with Marnese Jackson. She really knows her information regarding environmental issues, things of this nature. Okay, so right before the break, so everybody be sure to register. We'll have a link at our website, TheAHNShow.com also. We were talking about Kanye West before the break. You can give us a call if you have a quick question or comment, okay? And I'll probably do a separate broadcast on this because we only have 2 hours here. I want to go back to the article from NBC News, okay? Adidas terminates. Let me go back to this one here just a second. Let's pull this back up. Adidas terminates relationship with Kanye West after pressure to cut ties over anti-Semitic remarks. Okay. Now, once again, I don't think Kanye West hates Jewish people or anything like that. I think some of his comments, he did walk back his comments. He did apologize. I saw a video and actually the statement in an article from the Guardian, the dailymail.co.uk, where he talks about this later. He later clarified, "I will say I'm sorry for the people that I hurt. I feel like I caused hurt and confusion, and I'm sorry for the families of the people that had nothing to do with the trauma that I had been through, and that I use my platform where you say hurt people." He said, and I was hurt. That is true. Hurt people do hurt people. Okay, if we go back to this article from NBC News, Adidas has cut ties with Kanye West after facing pressure to end its partnership with the rapper in the wake of his quote unquote anti-Semitic comments, with backlash mounting against the entertainer and leading to him losing additional business deals. Now, he didn't lose business deals for saying slavery sounded like a choice. He didn't lose business deals for using the N-word in his music. But he loses business deals here. Now, some people ask what took so long, and other people ask, well, why doesn't Donald Trump face the same backlash? He said negative things about the Jewish community as well. Quote, Adidas does not tolerate anti-Semitism and any other sort of hate speech, the company said in a statement Tuesday. Quote, Ye's recent comments and actions have been unacceptable, hateful, and dangerous, and they violate the company's values of diversity and inclusion, mutual respect, and fairness, end quote. Now, the German athletic brand said the decision to terminate its partnership with Kanye. I don't call him I still call him Kanye. His mama called him Kanye West, so I'm gonna call him Kanye West. And what does Ye mean anyway? What's the translation of Ye? What does Ye mean? Kanye West, to terminate his partnership with Kanye West, quote unquote, immediately came after a quote unquote thorough review. Now, back in September 2022, Gap, fall into the Gap Inc., which announced in September it was ending its Yeezy Gap partnership, said in a statement on Tuesday, October 25th, quote, we are taking immediate steps to remove Yeezy Gap product from our stores, and we have shut down YeezyGap.com. YeezyGap.com. Now, I don't have any Yeezy shoes. I looked at some of the shoes. Those are some of the ugliest shoes I've ever seen. I ain't buying none of that stuff. I'm not buying any of the clothing, the boots, none of that. Okay. And I don't have any Adidas either. I had some Adidas jogging pants 15 years ago. I'm not a big Adidas person. Loved Run DMC. Never had Adidas. I had an Adidas duffel bag, okay, and had Adidas jogging pants, and I think a windbreaker some 10 years ago, something like that, okay, but I ain't big into Adidas. The Gap said, quote, anti-Semitism, racism, and hate in any form are inexcusable and not tolerated in accordance with our values. Inexcusable and not tolerated in accordance with our values. The company said, the Gap said, on behalf of our customers, employees, and shareholders, we are partnering with organizations that combat hate and discrimination. Now, we know he's bipolar. We know he's a Trump supporter, a big Trump supporter. But when he used the N-word in his music, I don't think he meant it I don't think he meant it in a hateful way towards African Americans. I don't use the N-word. It's nothing to be played with, but I don't think Kanye uses it. But I find it interesting that Gap, see, when he signed his deal with the Gap, he already had music out using the N-word. I'm not saying she's a gold digger, but she ain't messing with no broke. He already had music out. So that's all right with the Gap. That's all right with Adidas. That's all right with TJ Maxx. That's all right with Foot Locker. If we go back to one of my posts on Facebook, the one that got 7,000 likes on our fan page, the African History Network. If you don't follow us on the African History Network, you should. We have 1 million followers there. Let me go back to this one right here, because we have to understand that you only protect what you respect. You only protect what you respect. And what happens is that oftentimes you teach people how to treat you. So what we see here, this is the original post. I just reposted it here on our fan page so you can comment on it. I said, what I find very interesting is that no corporations cut ties with Kanye West when he says slavery was a choice. You only protect what you respect. That was cool with them. And Adidas put out a statement back when he said these comments in 2018 about why they were not going to separate with him. But Jews separate with him now. Now, we know the Anti-Defamation League put pressure. There was a lot of pressure put on Adidas. Why don't African-American organizations put the same type of pressure on these different groups or on Fox News, things like that, when they say things that are anti-African, anti-African-American? Why don't our organizations and why don't African-Americans put the same penalty on people that say things that are anti-African-American? Why don't we put the same penalty on them that the Jewish community puts on people who they deem say things that also contribute to a environment that could bring about violence towards them? So now what Kanye should have said in 2018 was slavery was a choice. White people chose to enslave African people in this country for 246 years. Slavery was a choice for white people. Who built the ships? Who owned the shipbuilding companies that traveled to Africa to pick up slaves, to pick up African people and enslave them? Who owned the insurance companies that took out insurance policies on the ships and took out insurance policies on African people on the slave plantations? Who owned the banks that loaned the money to the plantation owners so that they could buy more land and buy more Africans to enslave them? Who encoded slavery into the U.S. Constitution? There was no African Americans at the Philadelphia Convention in 1787 when Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3 of the U.S. Constitution, known as the Three-Fifths Compromise, gave an advantage to slaveholding states in the South. It gave them advantage in the House of Representatives as well as in the Electoral College. When Article 4, Section 2 of the U.S. Constitution laid the foundation of the Fugitive Slave Act of 1793 and the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, that was a choice. White people, slavery was a choice for white people. Okay? When you have Article 1, Section 2, or Article 1, Section 9, Clause 1 of the U.S. Constitution, that put a 20-year clause in the U.S. Constitution. It said that the earliest that the international transatlantic slave trade could be abolished would be 1808. That was a choice. Slavery was a choice for white people. The reason why Kanye West didn't say that in 2018, because he ain't that crazy. That's why he didn't say that, because he knew it'd backlash against him if he said that. He's not that crazy. You listen to the African History Network show on Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Back from break in 4 minutes. Stand by. Okay, who still needs to register for my online classes? Tuesdays and Wednesdays. We'll give you some information about that here in just a minute. Back from break in 3 minutes. Back from break in 1 minute. Stand by. Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 a.m. the Superstation. Okay, be sure to register for the online classes that I teach on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. On Wednesdays, it is Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. We deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. We have the information at our website, TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com, TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com. When you scroll down the page, you'll see the information for the radio show, our Cash App and PayPal information also. We do with thousands of years of history, what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. You can go back and watch it anytime. So a year from now, 2 years from now, you can go back and watch the entire class. It's actually going to be 10 weeks instead of 8 weeks. Class is on sale $80, regularly $130. This helps support the African History Network, helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting. Next class is Wednesday, November 2nd, 2022, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So after I'm on the panel discussion at the Midwest Building Decarbonization Conference, their Equity Summit. After I do that, then I teach the class that evening. Okay, you click right here for register here. You can use debit card, credit card. If you want to use Cash App, you can email us through the website also for Cash App. Then on Tuesdays, the class that I teach is from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. And we really start in 1800 with the 1800 census and the Louisiana Purchase and the Haitian Revolution. We look at 1803 and we look at history chronologically, see what leads up to the Civil War taking place. We look at the Reconstruction era, Jim Crow era, Great Migration, World War I, World War II, Civil Rights Movement, the Black Power Movement. Next class is Tuesday, November 1st, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The class is on sale, $80, regularly $130. Same format. I do a PowerPoint presentation, book references, articles, video clips. We have a bundle pack. You get both classes for only $130. That's over a $360 value. Click right here, register here. You can use this information with your children also. Okay. I would say the information is PG-13. So we posted the link here on the thread of the broadcast as well. So as soon as you register, you can start watching content. You can join us in class this week. All right. I want to go back quickly here to this article from NBC News. Adidas terminates relationship with Kanye West after pressure to cut ties over anti-Semitic comments. Okay, so if we go here, then I want to switch quickly over to this piece from CNN.com also that deals with the contract. Okay, let's see here. So it has a statement, more information about Adidas. Adidas, which began its partnership with Kanye West in 2013, said it will end production. It will end production of Yeezy branded products and stop all payments to Kanye West and his companies. Okay, it will end production because Kanye West, from reviewing information about the contract, now nobody has had a chance to actually read the contract, but from what we know about it, Adidas, this was like a licensing deal. Okay, and he would create designs for Adidas. Adidas was the one that produced all this stuff. The Adidas was the one that had the production plants, the production factories, okay? And Adidas had the distribution network because there are Adidas retail stores, and Adidas supplied the products, it appears. They supplied it to Foot Locker and different things like this. Foot Locker and TJ Maxx and the Gap, etc. Okay, Adidas will stop the Adidas Yeezy business with immediate effect, the statement said. Now, the move is anticipated to have a short-term negative impact of up to €250 or about $246 million on Adidas net income in 2022, the company said. The decision comes following mounting pressure from online demanding. The decision comes following mounting pressure from people online demanding the company end its relationship with the artist after an anti-Semitic hate group was accused of hanging a banner over a Los Angeles freeway this past Saturday that read, quote, "Kanye is right about the Jews," end quote. Okay, but here's the thing. Kanye didn't intend for a white supremacist group to do something like that. So how do you see, once again, did these people call on these companies to end their relationship with Kanye when he said slavery sounds like a choice, or when he when he wore a jacket with the Confederate battle flag logo on it? When he sat up in Trump's office and went on a diatribe, just made a fool out of himself, did these same people call on these companies to separate from Kanye? I just sit back and I just find the whole thing interesting. Because African Americans are the only ones who are not protected. Everybody else, they're protected. Everybody else, you can't say certain things about them. With us, you can say whatever you want to about us. Why is that? Because you only protect what you respect. And the reason why many of our people don't fight back is because many of our people don't think they're worth fighting for. This is why we internalize this and we use those same dehumanizing terms for ourselves. Other ethnic groups don't do that. Other ethnic groups, generally speaking, don't have music out that dehumanizes them. Generally speaking, you may find one or two here, but you're going to be hard pressed to find a popular hip hop song that don't have the N-word in it. Other ethnic groups don't do that. People who understand their history, have maintained their culture, they don't do that. So why do white corporations finance African-American hip hop artists and allow us to do that? It's the same thing with WAP, Megan Thee Stallion, Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion. I said this and I interviewed some sisters, Herb Alchemist and Heck of a Mecca and Jade Arendelle, and we did a panel discussion dealing with this. No corporation, not Atlantic Records or any of these white corporations, music corporations, they would not let any white female artist, a top white female artist, they would not let any of them put out a song with lyrics as sexually explicit as WAP. Why is that? Because they have respect for those artists, some level of respect, and they know whatever's disseminated becomes imitated. Before the break, I was saying in the video for WAP, all the women in the video were of African descent except Kylie Jenner. The bass line of the song repeats the phrase, "There's some H's in this house," or WH. There's some WH's, there's some H's in this house. It repeats it approximately 79 times. That's called programming. That's called programming. Now, you had a group of white people who put together an online petition because they wanted Kylie Jenner, who's a billionaire, a white female billionaire. They wanted Kylie Jenner to be digitally removed from the video. Why is this? Because they wanted to rescue this white woman from this train wreck. They were basically saying it's all right for you Negroes to be in that H house or whatever you want to call it. It's all right for you Negroes to be in there. But this white woman here, we need to rescue her because we value her. We don't value you. You can be as ignorant as you want to. You can pop this, you can do that all you want to. We got to get this white woman out of here now. She don't belong in there. You're a billionaire. You need to have more sense. Let those Negroes do that. We expect that from them. Then it went on to win the American Music Award and the Grammy Song of the Year, all this. WAP is the Song of the Year? That was a horrible year. If WAP was the Song of the Year, if that's the best you got, you had a terrible year. You only protect what you respect. I've said it before. Black lives need to matter to black people. Black lives need to matter to black people. Other people, other ethnic groups don't treat their women like that. Yeah, you have misogyny, things like even with white people, they ain't gonna have. You will never see Taylor Swift or any top white female artist do something like that. They're not gonna allow that. They may have misogyny, but they ain't gonna allow something like that. They'll let Negroes do it. Okay, read the rest of this article here. Adidas terminates relationship with Kanye West after pressure to cut ties over anti-Semitic comments. Okay. Oh, they're giving me the the applause. All right, now this article right here from there's Kim Pratt is my board operator tonight. She's giving me the applause. Okay, stand by. We'll go to the phone lines when we come back. But also, I want to go to this article here that deals with the contract, because Adidas still owns the designs and future designs that they haven't put out yet. They still own all that. Okay. You listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by. Back from break in 4 minutes. Boy, get over this. He got invited. Putting out music that day. Okay, stand by. Back from break in 4 minutes. Back from break in 4 minutes. Wait, he got invited. He gets he got invited. All right, everybody, you can support the African History Network, $ the AHN show through Cash App, $ the AHN show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show. Stand by. This helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting, pay some of the bills. Also, I have a huge announcement to make about Election Day. I'm going to make that announcement when we come back from the break. I'm going to tell you what you want. I'm going to tell you the Election Day show that you definitely want to watch. Stand by. It's all time but dehumanizing. There ain't no standards, no back anybody else. Welcome back to the African History Network show. All right, so we are a few days away from November 8th midterm elections. And a lot of people want to know, well, which channel should we watch? What should we watch for the election returns and analysis and things like this? Well, Roland Martin Unfiltered is going to have 7 hours of election returns, of election analysis and coverage of this. Okay. So Tuesday, November 8th, I'm flying to Washington, D.C. because I've been asked to be one of the political commentators on Roland Martin Unfiltered for his 6-hour and actually 7-hour, because his producer Carol emailed me today, and it's going from 6 p.m. to 1 a.m. Okay. And so we'll have information on our website, theAfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Download the Black Star Media app also. Listen to 9:10 a.m. at the same time. Okay. Listen to 9:10 a.m. WFDF at the same time, because that's the radio station we're on. Listen to 9:10 at the same time. Have that on while you watch me on Roland Martin Unfiltered, okay? Because I'll be on for 7 hours. They'll have different segments with me. And I fly out to Washington, D.C. I'll be in Roland's studio. I fly out to Washington, D.C. That Tuesday morning. Okay, so I have to vote early. I fly out Tuesday morning, come back Wednesday. All right, download the Black Star Media app, and also you can watch Roland Martin Unfiltered on Roland's YouTube channel, as well as his Facebook page, and we share the broadcast on our page as well. If you want to help, because I got to pay my way there, so if you want to help the African History Network, also you can support us a few ways. $ the AHN show through Cash App, $ the AHN show through Cash App. Matthew said busy week. Yeah, that's gonna be a busy week. Yeah, because I fly out. I fly out Tuesday and come back Wednesday, and I got a whole bunch of other stuff I have to, going on that week also. $ the AHN show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me /the AHN show. So because I have some expenses I have to cover. Also, as well as expenses with the African History Network. We have the information right on the homepage of our website. And then you can register for our online classes as well. So that helps support the African History Network also. So we have our PayPal and Cash App link here. When you click on Cash App, it takes you to the next page and has our QR code here for Cash App. This is our official Cash App account, $ the AHN show. Through Cash App, through Cash App. Some of these other ones here are fake African History Network Cash App accounts. So we have the real one here, $ the AHN show SHOW. There are 5 fake ones I've identified. I was in contact with Cash App 2 weeks ago. The investigation that I had them launch, because I'm trying to get these fake accounts shut down because they've been stealing money from us. Okay, so they're still investigating this. They're slower than Heinz ketchup. I swear to God, they're slower than Heinz ketchup. Okay, but we have the information there on the homepage of our website. Also, you can register for our online classes as well. Okay, there was a article here from CNN. Okay, and Kim, we're going to squeeze in clip 1 here in just a second. So cue that up. Clip number 1 for Roland Martin Unfiltered. Yeezy without the Ye, who is new sole owner? SOLE. Who is new sole owner? What they do is in this article, they go through and they look at segments of the contract with Adidas that we know about. Adidas is the sole owner. Adidas says in the statement they put out, Adidas is the sole owner of all design rights to existing products, as well as previous and new colorways under the partnership. End quote. So this is written by John Sarlin for CNN. He said, let's flag this part. Quote, sole, SOLE, sole owner of all design rights. The Yeezy Adidas contract isn't publicly available, but I talked to several legal experts about the significance of that line and what Adidas can add, what Adidas can and cannot do going forward. Quote, the industry standard is that Adidas would be the one that would own all of it, even though Kanye is the owner of the trademark of his brand, said Sharina Anki Kroll, Krol, a New York City fashion lawyer, told me with the caveat that she had not read the Adidas Ye contract. Now, also Adidas, there's an article dealing with Adidas. Let me see. We have this one here. Okay. Once again, this Adidas does a production, and you know, the house always wins. Okay. If you look at this one here, hold on. Let me refresh the screen here just a second. His deal with Adidas and one other company are valued at about $4.5 billion. Okay. But this article right here, let me pull this up from this article from with yahoo.com. Let's go to this one. This is originally billboard.com. Billboard, the music industry standard. Billboard.com plans to sell existing Yeezy product without Kanye West's name. Okay. Once again, this goes back to the contract. This is from Wednesday, October 26, 2022. Adidas may have severed ties with Kanye West, but it looks like they'll still be selling the remainder of Yeezy's products just without his name attached to them. According to the reporting by Bloomberg, the athletic brand's parent company, Adidas AG, will rebrand all Yeezy designs under the Adidas brand at the start of 2023. Okay, Adidas AG will rebrand all Yeezy designs under the Adidas brand at the start of 2023. Those watching on Facebook and YouTube, keep watching. We're going to keep going for a few more minutes. I'm going to share this segment from Roland Martin Unfiltered as well. Visit our website, TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com, TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Register for the online classes that I teach. Also, we'll see you at the Midwest Building Decarbonization Coalition 2022 Equity Summit, Wednesday through Friday. Right now, let's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you next week. Peace. All right, stand by. Okay, let's continue here. Okay, so according to reporting by Bloomberg.com, the athletic brand's parent company, Adidas AG, will rebrand all Yeezy designs, under the Adidas brand at the start of 2023. Quote, looking ahead, on our understanding, the company will not sell any Yeezy branded products, and all Yeezy products will be branded under Adidas brand, end quote. Morgan Stanley analyst Edouard, Edouard, Aubin, Aubin, in a note to his clients, said in a note to his clients on Tuesday. So all the designs that he created for Adidas owns the designs. They just don't own the Yeezy brand. They're going to put Adidas on there and sell that stuff. Because I know people was saying, oh, he's getting free and all this stuff. Why did he go try to meet with Skechers? Why did he go try to meet with Skechers? I'll tell you why he tried to meet with Skechers. See, I read a lot of comments from people dealing with this. He's a free black man. He's smart. All blah blah blah. I said, okay, I can tell these people ain't go to business school. Let me show you something here. So there was one article dealing with, let's see, we got the one from the Washington Post dealing with Skechers. Well, we got one from the New York Times also. There was one from the Post dealing with Skechers, but let's look at this one here from the New York Times for the sake of time. Okay, that's the wrong one. Hold on. Okay, let's pull this up. Okay, this one right here from the New York Times dealing with Skechers. So we heard that he was escorted out of Skechers. He showed up without an appointment. Apparently he wanted to have a meeting, wanted to set up an appointment. He was authorized filming. They escorted him out. Now, the founder of Skechers is a Jewish man also. So his comments, I don't think, helped the situation. Skechers says it escorted Kanye West from its offices after unannounced visit. The footwear company said Mr. West, also known as Ye, had been, quote, engaged in unauthorized filming, end quote, one of his corporate offices in Los Angeles. So, see, they didn't care about how talented he is, how many billions he held at. I don't mean none of them. This article by Matt Stevens, October 27th, 2022. Thursday, October 27th for the New York Times. The footwear company Skechers said late Wednesday that Kanye West had come to its corporate offices in Los Angeles, quote unquote, unannounced and uninvited. They said, we ain't asked you to come here. You just pop up like you own the place. No, like you own the place or something. We ain't asked you to come up in here. Unannounced and uninvited. And was subsequently escorted from the building where he had been trying to film. Quote, considering Ye was engaged in unauthorized filming, two Skechers executives escorted him and his party from the building after a brief conversation. End quote, the company said in a statement referring to Mr. West by the name by which he is also known. Quote, Skechers is not considering and has no intention of working with him at it. Quote, we condemn his recent divisive remarks and do not tolerate anti-Semitism or any other form of hate speech, end quote. An effort to reach a representative for Kanye West was not immediately successful. Skechers, in a statement, did not provide any additional details about how the situation had played out. Now, okay, this episode came at a chaotic time for Kanye West, a rapper designer who had been widely condemned and abandoned by corporate partners over a series of recent provocations, including anti-Semitic remarks over the past month, etc. Okay. One of his most important partners, Adidas, said on Tuesday that it would end its decade-long relationship with him, a move that the company said will cost it $246 million this year. Instagram and Twitter have suspended Kanye's account. He's reinstated by Twitter after Elon Musk bought Twitter. That's a whole Twitter, there's going to be a lot of people leaving Twitter because the amount of hate speech on Twitter has skyrocketed since Elon Musk took over Twitter. Okay, which is a terrible move for him to buy Twitter. Ari Emanuel of Endeavor, the parent company of the talent agency WME, called on entertainment companies to stop working with Kanye West. Vogue vowed to stop working with Kanye West as well. So this is just a terrible week for him. So read the rest of the article here. Okay. So I saw a lot of comments from people, and they said, okay, so now he can be independent. Now he can, he doesn't need these companies. Oh, he's getting out of all these deals, things like this. But then the next day, he goes to meet with Skechers. So why does he want to meet with Skechers? Let me pull this up here. I'll tell you why he wants to meet with Skechers. I'll give you 515 reasons why Kanye West wants to meet with Skechers. This is from Statista.com. Number of Skechers stores in the United States from 2016 to 2021. Skechers has 515 retail stores in the United States as of 2021. Not sure how many 2022, but 2021, 515. Kanye West needs their distribution network because he doesn't have 515 stores or 400 or 300 or 200. He doesn't have retail stores like that. He needed Foot Locker. They have brick and mortar retail stores. They have foot traffic. He needed Adidas. They had retail stores. He needed TJ Maxx. They had retail stores. He needed the Gap. They had retail stores, walk-in foot traffic. He doesn't have that. Sure, he can set up a Yeezy store or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. Skechers has 515. That's why he wanted to meet with them. Because I saw comments from people, and I was like, I can tell these people don't understand none of this stuff. Somebody said he can sell online. You think Adidas doesn't sell online? You think TJ Maxx doesn't sell online? You think Foot Locker? Yeah, they do, and they have brick and mortar stores. The other thing is, when you see an ad in a magazine or see an ad on TV for the Gap, guess what? That's foot traffic that's driven into their brick and mortar stores. When you see commercials for TJ Maxx, that's foot traffic driven into their brick and mortar stores. From everything that I know about and everything I've read about his contract and his agreements, things like this, it appears that he doesn't have to pay for the advertising that Foot Locker does. He doesn't have to pay for the advertising that Adidas does. He doesn't have to pay for the advertising that the Gap does. He doesn't have to pay for the advertising that TJ Maxx does. They pay for that. Their employees sell his shoes at their brick and mortar stores. If he loses all those licensing deals, if he loses all those deals, guess what he got to do? He has to have a company that does all that. He's going to have regional hubs. Can't just be one warehouse. He's going to have regional hubs. He's going to have to employ people. He's going to have to put in systems. He's going to have to manufacture. He's going to have the inventory on hand. He's going to have to handle all that and pay payroll and have an HR department and handle the marketing as well. That's a huge headache. And another thing that's called, is a very technical term that we use in business. It's called overhead. He's got to handle all that overhead, marketing, HR department, manufacturing, inventory on hand, the cost of warehouses, all that stuff. Based upon what I know about the deal he has with Adidas, they take care of all that. So I saw people. Now, when he got escorted out of Skechers, a lot of people who were commenting saying, "Oh, he's getting free all these contracts. He's the freest black man in America." All that. Then when he gets escorted out of Skechers, they didn't put the two together and figure out why he wanted to meet with them. I can tell you why. Because they have a distribution network and he doesn't. Let's look at this here. How many retail stores does Foot Locker have? And see, the other thing is, with all these retail stores, these companies have employees. He doesn't have to pay their employees. If he does all this stuff himself, he has to pay employees also and pay for their health insurance. Okay? Deal with workman's comp. Deal with lawsuits from employees, all stuff like that. Let's look at this here at Statista. Now, the actual numbers at the official Foot Locker website may be a little off, maybe a little different, things like this. So Statista is a pretty accurate website. So I Googled. This is very simple, people. I'm a researcher. I do research. In business school, you're taught how to do research. I graduated from Wayne State's business school. My degree is not in history, it's in business. I taught entrepreneurship for 7 years, managed African-American companies. We had contracts with the County of Wayne, State of Michigan, City of Detroit. I've handled government contracts, helped them get government contracts, went through the process to renew our certifications so we could bid on more contracts. U.S. number of Foot Locker stores as of 2022 by store type. This statistic shows the number of Foot Locker stores in the United States as of 2022 broken down by type. Foot Locker had a total of 492 Champs stores in operation through the United States. I don't know if he was in Champs, but he was in Foot Locker stores. Foot Locker has 802 retail stores. That's called distribution. So if he does all this stuff himself now, it means you got to pay a lease for a retail store. You can buy it. You can buy the building. That costs more than the lease. What is that called? That's called overhead. Because I swear to God, this week I saw some of the dumbest ass remarks and statements from people. I was like, y'all, you need to read Black Enterprise or something. You don't understand business. Let's close this out. Skechers. I want to zoom in on this here. Foot Locker has 802 retail stores in the U.S., not in the world, in the U.S. Along with those retail stores come employees. So he don't have to hire all those employees, all the stuff. He uses their distribution network. He uses their systems. Let's look up the Gap. How many retail stores does the Gap have in the U.S.? Now, when I looked at this before, we have it for Statista because I saw it for scraphero.com also. Because I went through and looked up all this stuff before I came on. I looked at this stuff a couple of days ago. That's how I already know. So 515 for Skechers. That's why he wanted to meet with Skechers. 805 for Foot Locker. Let's look at the Gap. Global number of stores. Now, I want to focus on U.S. I don't want to focus on global. I just want to focus on the U.S. But global number of stores of the Gap Inc. by store brand and region 2010 to 2021. Okay. In 2021, the apparel retailer Gap Inc. operated a total of 2,835 stores. The majority of the company's stores are located in North America. As of January 9th, 2022, the company's Gap brand had 520 stores in operation in North America. How many Yeezy stores are there in operation? The Gap had 520 in North America. Foot Locker has 805. Skechers has 515. I haven't gotten to TJ Maxx yet. How many does Yeezy have? This is called distribution. This is what people don't understand about business. So 2021, Gap North America, 520, 2021. I guess they won't break it down by the US. Okay, but still, let's just say it's 400 in the US. How many Yeezy stores are there? Let's look at TJ Maxx. How many retail stores does TJ Maxx have in the United States? Let's look at Statista.com once again. TJ Maxx, TJX, TJ Maxx companies, numbers of stores worldwide. Now, I don't want to focus on worldwide. I just want to focus on the US or North America, okay? As of January 29th, but this just gives some background information, okay? As of January 29th, TJ Maxx companies had 1,284 TJ Maxx stores in operation around the world. Don't want to focus on around the world. How many Yeezy stores are there internationally? I'm just curious. Anybody know? Meanwhile, there were 106 Marshall stores in Canada alone. TJ Maxx operates in four main segments: Marmaxx and Home Goods in the United States, TJX in Canada, TJX International. Marmaxx encompasses TJ Maxx and Marshall brands. Home Goods, okay, we skip over that. Does it give me just US? I don't remember. Number of TJ Maxx companies worldwide in fiscal year 2022, 1,284 worldwide. Okay. Let me see. United States top retailers. It should give me just the US. That's what I want. Hold on. Let me see something here. Just a second. But see, you understand that, okay, Amazon can help him distribute. If Amazon wants to work with them, have you heard Jeff Bezos said he wants to work with Kanye? I mean, I guess he could go on Amazon and set up a store. But people, I don't think y'all like really understand this. 802 retail stores. That's walk-in foot traffic. That means you walk down the street, see a Foot Locker, you can walk in, buy the shoes now, and walk out with them. That's retail. That's brick and mortar. That's foot traffic. You can try them on. You can talk to the salesperson. You can get help. You can get fitted. They can sell you other products. When Foot Locker runs ads on TV, on radio, on social media, in print, this drives customers into the store. He doesn't have to pay for that. This is much bigger than just selling on Amazon. He can sell on Amazon. People resell the stuff on Amazon. That don't be 802 retail stores, 515 with Skechers. He doesn't have a deal with Skechers yet, but that's why he wants to get with Skechers, because they have a distribution network. The other thing is, if he sells on Amazon, who's going to produce the shoes? He's going to have to get a company to produce the shoes, unless he's going to have warehouse and handle all this. This Adidas was producing the shoes for him. He was designing them. He didn't have to deal with production. All that's overhead. That cuts into your profits. Maybe I look at this different because we had to take production management at Wayne State's business school. So maybe that's, you know, and then when I used to manage a Radio Shack, they flew me down to corporate headquarters to see how the entire operation worked. So I saw how products that we sold in the store got to us. I saw the entire operation, the warehouse, fulfillment, all that stuff. You get to see, like, this is a whole lot more complicated than just setting up a virtual store on Amazon. So the people who say, oh, he can just sell online, why was he meeting with Skechers then? Then TJ Maxx, let me see, hold on. Okay, so TJ Maxx, they gave us worldwide. It was like 1,200 worldwide. Okay. Say TJ Maxx hypothetically is just 500 in the US. Say hypothetically 500 in the US. You got 805 Foot Lockers, 500 TJ Maxx. Okay, that's 1,300. Then you have the Gap with the Gap in the US or North America, that's 520 stores. Okay, so now you're at 1,800. Okay, 1,300 plus 520. Now you're at 1,800. Just between the Gap, Foot Locker, and TJ Maxx. You're at 1,800 brick and mortar stores that have employees in there selling your stuff. That does not include the Adidas stores. You're at 1,800 just with that. And all those companies as well, they sell website also. I'm just talking about brick and mortar. That's called distribution. And that's why he met with Skechers, because he needs their distribution network. He does not have that. This ain't an attack on him. I'm explaining business to you. All right. So this article here, I want to go back to the one dealing with the contract. Yeezy without Ye, who is the new sole owner? CNN.com, Wednesday, October 26, 2022. Yeezy without the Ye, who is the new sole owner? S-O-L-E. I'm going to go back. I don't want to be redundant. I have to get out of here. I want to go back to where we left off. Okay. The industry standard is that, quote, the industry standard is that Adidas would be the one that would own all of it, even though Kanye is the owner of the trademark of his brand, end quote, said Sharina Anki Kroll, K-R-O-L, a New York City fashion lawyer, told me with the caveat that she had not read the Adidas Ye contract. Even so, the wording raises more questions than it answers. Even so, the wording raises more questions than it answers. While the Adidas statement definitely closes the door on selling Yeezy branded products, according to legal experts I talked with, it opens the door for them to Adidas to rebrand the existing Yeezy designs sans Ye, which means without. Sans means without Kanye West, because Adidas owns all those designs, not Kanye West. Put simply, Yeezy might be owned by Ye. The brand name, the logo, the trademark is owned by Ye. But the Yeezy shoe designs are Adidas intellectual property. Nicole Half, litigation and entertainment partner at Romano Law said, quote, they won't be able to use his individual trademarks, but the designs themselves they can reuse because they own them. Referring to Adidas. Now, Nicole Half pointed me to this article that dives into Adidas patent filings and shows that the company claims ownership over all Yeezy / Adidas designs with one exception, Yeezy slides. Those are all Kanye. One exception, Yeezy slides. Those are all Kanye. All the rest, Adidas owns that. Attorney Nicole Half told me that, quote unquote, the sole owner sentence in Adidas statement is a legal, quote unquote, warning shot to Kanye West. Attorney Nicole Half said, quote, he's been saying a lot of things to the press like that that his designs have been stolen from him and that money is owed to him, end quote. What I think is happening is that Adidas has been laying out their legal position. This is what Attorney Nicole Half is saying. That legal position could hinge on the morals clause, M-O-R-A-L-S. That legal position could hinge on the morals clause within the Yeezy Adidas contract, which could give Adidas legal cover to terminate their deal. Quote, it is inconceivable that there is not a morals clause, said attorney Nicole Half. Kanye's behavior, quote, absolutely causes reputational harm and damage to the Adidas brand, end quote. For a deep dive on the legal questions about the Yeezy Adidas separation, the Fashion Law has a great write-up. They have a link there for that. Could Kanye build his own Yeezy fashion brand? According to Terry Agins, A-G-I-N-S, the author of Hijacking the Runway, How Celebrities Are Stealing the Spotlight from Fashion Designers. Hijacking the Runway, How Celebrities Are Stealing the Spotlight from Fashion Designers. That could be a gargantuan task. This is what I was trying to explain to people. I mean, this ain't just going to Wix.com, setting up a website. We're just going on Amazon, opening up a store. She said that could be a gargantuan task. According to Terry Agins, sneaker designs, unlike clothing, are more closely tied to technology and patents, which shoe giants hold closely. Quote, all the properties that make a shoe special, all that stuff is trademarked. Quote, he doesn't have the infrastructure. You can't just do that on your own, end quote. Now, the article goes on to say, let's step back Kanye West publicly terminated his 2-year-old partnership with Gap in September 2022. Today, that company announced that it would immediately stop selling Yeezy branded goods in its own brick and mortar stores and shut down the YeezyGap.com website. The YeezyGap.com website now redirects to the Gap's main website. So they get that internet traffic. Because I went to the Yeezy Gap website to see what it did, and they made it do what it do. Redirects to the Gap's website. Pulling the plug on the existing Yeezy merchandise was a no-brainer for the company. It was already a zombie brand, with its star designer publicly leaving and disparaging the brand, Gap, disparaging the Gap. Unlike Gap, however, Adidas have built up a highly profitable business selling Yeezy branded goods. Adidas Yeezy sneakers were some of the most coveted and influential shoes. Most of those designs are ugly as hell to me. I'm not spending any money on those. I wouldn't wear that stuff if it was free. Adidas Yeezy sneakers was some of the most coveted and influential shoes, often selling for thousands of dollars on the resale market. Why? You can buy stocking companies. Why? You can start your own business with thousands of dollars. If you haven't been following, I know you have collectors that do all that. All them people buying that stuff are not collectors. Usually collectors buy the shoes and put them in a shoe box, put them in storage. They don't wear the stuff out in the street. I mean, the people who collect them for like an investment, they usually don't wear the shoes like outside in the street on the concrete. If you haven't been following fashion trends over the last decade, no, I have not, you might not be aware of the vast influence that Kanye's brand has had. I'm somewhat familiar with the influence. Stuff still looks ugly to me. Okay, read the rest of this article here. Very, very interesting article in these. They cite a few attorneys in here to give more insight into the industry. That's why I wanted to share this article. Yeezy without the yay. Who is the new sole owner? This is from CNN.com, CNN Business, Wednesday, October 22nd, 2022. There was a good article dealing with the history of Adidas and the founding of Adidas and its connection to Nazis. Let me go to that one. Where is that one? Hold on just a second here. We got this up in Firefox. So this was an interesting article from yahoo.com, originally published by The Independent. So, and this gets into some history here. So there's information a lot of people didn't know. So, name of the article, Kanye West Anti-Semitism. Was Adidas really founded by a Nazi? Was Adidas really founded by a Nazi? October 25th, 2022. So, let me see. I printed this article. Where is it? Right here. I'm going to skip over all this redundant stuff. We're going to go to the history portion here. (1924). Okay, so let's see here. Let's go right here. The Jewish Telegraphic Agency said the founders of the company Adidas that eventually became Adidas were in fact members of the Nazi Party. And let's see here. Let's go. Let's go. Did you know right here? Okay, I just need to change the caption here. So if we look at this article quickly here. In 1924, brothers Adolf, 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 who goes by Adi for short, ADI, Adi, and his brother Rudolf Dassler, last name Dassler, Dassler, founded Gebruder Dassler, Gebruder, Gebruder Dassler, Schiff Fabric, or Dassler Brothers Shoe Factory, Dassler Brothers Shoe Factory, in the Bavarian town of Herzogenaurach. A decade later, as the company continued to grow and Adolf Hitler rose to power, both brothers joined the Nazi Party. Both brothers joined the Nazi Party, Adolf and Rudolf. According to journalist Barbara Smith's book about Adidas Sneaker Wars, about Adidas called Sneaker Wars. The book is called Sneaker Wars. During this period, both men signed their letters, Heil Hitler, H-E-I-L, and German athletes wore the brothers' shoes during the infamous 1936 Nazi Olympics, quote unquote Nazi Olympics in Berlin, Germany, where Jesse Owens ran and won gold medals there. The company has subsequently emphasized how Adi Dassler also provided sneakers during the 1936 games to Jesse Owens, the groundbreaking African-American track star who dazzled the American and German public alike. Now, Adidas told Business Insider that seeing athletes perform at their best was more important to Adi Dassler than politics, and that the company is proud that Adi Dassler showed moral courage in this darkest phase of German history. During World War II itself, the company's shoe factories were converted into munitions factories for the Germans. After the war, both brothers were scrutinized for their Nazi ties, rightfully so. Now, Rudolf Dassler was arrested on suspicion he fed information to the Gestapo and was briefly sent to a POW camp, while his brother Adi was also accused of supporting the Nazis during the war, but had local leaders vouch that he was not a party loyalist. Now, Adi Dassler also claimed he continued to do business with Jewish leaders, with Jewish leather traders, long after other German businesses refused to do so. In 1949, 5 years after the World War II ended. It was only in 1949, 5 years after the end of World War II, that Adi Dassler broke off and formed his own company, Adidas, which is the first three letters of his first and last name, Dassler, D-A-S-S-L-E-R, D-A-S, and Adi, the first three letters of his first name, or it was his nickname, Adi. That's where you get Adidas from, A-D-I-D-A-S. Adi Dassler broke off and formed his own company called Adidas amid a fraternal rift, while his brother Rudolph Dassler founded Puma, the Puma company that makes the Puma gym shoes. Adidas and Puma were founded by two Nazis. Interesting. Check out this article here from yahoo.com, picked up from the independent.com. Because anti-Semitism, was Adidas really founded by a Nazi? I remember Hall & Oates had a song called Say It Isn't So. Remember Hall & Oates? Do millennials know about Hall & Oates? What about Gen Z? Do y'all know about Hall & Oates? Say It Isn't So, Man Eater, Private Eyes. Look into my private eyes, they're watching you. I can't go for that. No can do. Adult education. Do they know about Hall & Oates? Not Quaker Oats. Hall & Oates. Okay. Daryl Hall and John Oates. They were like the biggest biggest duo, music duo in the early 80s. That's before Wham took it over. Hall & Oates was like huge. All right, let's see here. Okay, be sure to register for the online history classes I teach on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. We have the information on the homepage of our website, TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com. From the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968 on Tuesdays. And Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school, on Wednesdays. Okay, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to post a link here. You can register for the classes. We have the bundle pack. That's the best value. You get both classes on sale. It's $130. It's about a $360 value. We'll post a link here. I want to squeeze in this clip here from Roland Martin, the filter. I'll have to do another broadcast during the week or something like that. Find some time, squeeze it in. But we were talking about the midterm elections, okay? And I want to go to this clip here. Where did I put that? Hold on, let's see. Because we're off 9:10, so I have to cue this up myself. We don't have Kim anymore. All right, let's see here.
Folks, Democrat Chuck Schumer says Senator Raphael Warnock headwinds in Georgia. He was captured on a hot mic talking with President Joe Biden about the race between Warnock and Herschel Walker, as well as John Fetterman and Matt Oz in Pennsylvania. Here is what was captured. Let's see. vote are early turn in Georgia. Now, I've talked to some folks out of Georgia. They believe that Senator Chuck Schumer was doing that on purpose. They say, look, oftentimes what you will see is you will see folks try to egg their base going by suggesting that they are losing. Things are not going well. Also in Pennsylvania, there have been a couple of polls that have come out showing Mehmet Oz actually having a 48-45 lead against Fetterman after the debate. There's another poll that shows Fetterman is up 1.6%. Now, when it comes to voting, some 17 million early voting ballots have already been cast all across the country. Folks, this has been a breakdown of the University of Florida's U.S. Elections Project. As of Friday morning, the project counted 17,441,774 early votes, of which 11,109,257 were mail-in ballots returned, and 6,332,517 were cast in person. 56 million mail-in ballots have been requested. Now, even though the midterm elections have historically low participation compared to presidential cycles, despite growing interest in recent years, turnout in 2022 is still projected to be higher than usual for a midterm election. Georgia has been breaking records as well. Now, in Arizona, you have an issue there where you had some right-wing folks, some militia folks who have been camping out, if you will, at a mail drop box where they went to court and a judge ruled that those cannot be removed because it violates their constitutional protections. Really? Now, these extremist groups are showing up wearing fatigues, brandishing guns, and following and filming voters. Yeah, now this is critical because in Arizona, you've got Democrat Katie Hobbs going against Republican Carrie Lake, who is a vicious MAGA supporter. She has been very loud and proud in saying she will not accept the results of the election. She's not accepting the results of the 2020 election. And so that's what you have going on there. Bottom line is this here, and I keep saying, folks, polling at this point does not mean anything. Because one of the things that you have to look at when you talk about polls is who is being sampled. In one of the, I'll give a perfect example, in one of these polls, Tom Bonyard, who was a Democrat, he showed how in studying this one particular sample that shows Mehmet Oz leading, one of the things that he said is that it undersampled young voters around 14%, even though in the last two election cycles they turned out 25-28%. Same thing becomes to women voters. And really, the thing right here, Michael, you really can't say what's going to happen. We saw what happened in Kansas when women turned out in significant numbers and voted down that ban on abortion. And so, look, if you have women voters turn out at a much higher rate because of the Dobbs decision getting rid of Roe v. Wade, if young voters that could be very good for Democrats.
You know, Bruce Lee used to say bricks don't hit back when all the karate practitioners used to talk about how many bricks, like, that's irrelevant. Bricks don't hit back. Polls don't vote. And you know, polls, even though, you know, you have some pollsters who are tried and true and things like this, but polls are a way oftentimes for unqualified white people to get a check as well. Okay. So if we look, for instance, I look at different news. Fox News about African Americans in Georgia. Black voter turnout is up in Georgia. Stacey Abrams' White House doubled down on voter suppression claims. Okay, so they're trying to throw that in there and say, oh, black voter turnout is up, so voter suppression is non-existent. But we see that to figures from the United States Election Project, black voters make up 30% of vote far in Georgia, up 3 percentage points from 27% in the 2020 presidential election. So this is about messaging and turnout. And one of the mistakes that Democrats made, even though being overturned and abortion and women's reproductive rights, even though that is extremely important, they should have been talking about the economy and inflation much earlier. They should have been drilling down on that months ago. Number one, talking about how Democrats save the economy with the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan that no Republicans in the House or the Senate voted for. Number two, and explaining to people how it's helping them, how there was funding to open up schools, how there was funding to hire more teachers, first responders, police officers, things like this. $46.5 billion in rental assistance for renters. Then you have the CHIPS and Science Act, about 25% to 1/3 of inflationary costs is because of the lack of microchips that are used for vehicles. So we've seen the cost of vehicles skyrocket. We've also seen the cost of rental cars increase as well. Well, Democrats passed the CHIPS and Science Act, okay, which is going to back thousands of manufacturing jobs and lower the cost of vehicles. Yes, some Republicans voted for it. I think it may be 24 and I think maybe the House or something like that. But overwhelmingly, they voted against it. OK, then you have the Inflation Reduction Act. No Republicans in the House or the Senate voted for the Inflation Reduction Act. And a lot of that goes into effect January 1st, 2023. And it's going to help people save money. It'll help seniors save money on the cost of insulin. It'll lower the cost of energy for families, for their homes, things like this. They should have been talking about the economic issue much earlier, because they're actually winning on the economic issue. And lastly, 54% of corporate profits are 54% of inflationary costs are because of corporate profits, which is corporate greed. They should have T-shirts with that on there. Katie Porter nailed it. Democrat from California, she nailed it. That should be one of their leading arguments, because Republicans have no solutions to deal with inflation. And the New York Times has an article that just came out in the past couple of days that talks about how experts are saying many of the policies that Republicans are promoting will actually hurt the innocent to a recession. So, messaging and turnout at this point.
Well, I don't even think it's important about messaging right now. I think, Larry, what it is right now is you've got to go to your likely voters and get them out to the polls. You've got to figure out where they are, convince them to come out. And I keep telling people, I'm telling y'all right now, I'm going to use a hashtag we tried to tell you. I'm telling y'all right now, if you let Republicans take control of the House and take control of the Senate, you're going to have problems. I'm telling y'all right now, if Kerry Lake wins in Arizona, if Blake Masters wins that Senate seat in Arizona over Mark Kelly, y'all don't, what these people are going to unleash, because if these right MAGA, it's going to embolden them further. And so Democrats and progressives can't be playing games here. This ain't no time to be playing. And I love these people sit here, you just sitting here trying to get folks to vote Democrat. Okay, mess around and find out. Like, oh my goodness, this actually happened? Yeah. We told you it was going to happen. Right.
I've been in this game, this political game, for a long time. And I really feel like, and we talked about this a lot on your show, and you highlighted just a few seconds ago. It reminds me of the Marvel, Marvel Endgame with Thanos, that we're in political endgame in terms of many of who were just here in 11 days. Let's talk about a couple important things. My colleague talked about the Inflation Reduction Act. We can certainly talk about the infrastructure bill. What the White House has done in terms of debt, trying to tackle debt. But what's really on the ballot, now that was issued for Black folks and some other groups, but let's be clear, racial identity is really on the ballot. And that just goes to your book, White Fear, Roland. I think this is one of the things that, beyond policy issues, racial identity, we know that the opinions of whites in this country become more and more radicalized over the last several years. So many of these folks, inflation, or once again, they get some really focus on racial identity and racial demographic shift and power. That's what this is ultimately about. This is certainly not about democracy. And that's why I mentioned your book, White Fear. So it's really important that, once again, we do get our folks out to vote. I think, once again, in Georgia, like, they're going to come out and save things. Once again, Black folks save democracy. Bottom line is, in the future, especially in 2024, Roland, we're going to show that the Democratic Party is putting money into a show and other Black platforms to make sure that we are galvanizing members of the Black community, not at the last minute, not in the last 30 days or 2 weeks, but throughout the year. But we don't see that. And that's why I think when you talk about that's how we galvanize people, by constantly having consistent. We don't always see that from the Democratic. What we do see from the Republican Party is a lot of lies and disinformation. So to counter that, we have to consistently have some tight messaging and make platforms get them they need to get there.
Look, Cleo.
Okay, let me pause it right there. I want to go to this article here I was looking for and mention this in the segment here on Roland Martin and Filtered. This is from the New York Times. Republicans denounce inflation, but few economists expect their plans to. Okay, so all those people thinking about not voting, running around, don't understand any of this stuff. Read this article and Google the title, because it may be in Yahoo. That way you can read and don't have to pay for it. Because I have digital subscriptions to both the Washington Post and the New York Times. I pay them every month, and a bunch of other news outlets also. I pay each month. Time Magazine just renewed. I have one with Wall Street Journal. There's a bunch of news outlets I have paid subscriptions with. Republicans denounce inflation, but few economists expect their plans to help. Proposed tax and spending cuts by the GOP, which is making a push to take back Congress, are unlikely to bring down rapidly rising prices anytime soon. The Republican plan is going to make things worse. This is from March 6, 2022. It says Republican candidates have centered economic agenda on promises to help Americans cope with everyday price increases and to increase growth. They have pledged to reduce government spending and to make permanent parts of the 2017 Republican tax cuts that are set to expire over the next 3 years. Those are tax cuts for the wealthy. They want to extend those, including incentives for corporate investment and tax reductions for individuals. And they have vowed to repeal the corporate tax increases that President Biden signed into law in August of 2022, while gutting funding for the they want to gut funding for the Internal Revenue Service, because the Internal Revenue Service is going to have thousands over the next few years. They're going to have thousands of employees who retire. Okay. Part of one of the bills that I think it was the Inflation Reduction. I think it was that one of the other recent bills is going to add over time 50,000 IRS employees. But that's because there's going to be about 30,000 or so, between 30 to 35,000, who are going to retire over the next few years. And you can't wait till you got 30, 35,000 employees retiring to then go out and try to hire some employees and then train them. No, you need to do that ahead of time, because you know these people are going to retire. They're going to age out. They're going to retire. It's matriculation. So you have to prepare for that. You can't wait till 30,000 leave, and now you're 30,000 short. Now you get trying to go out and hire people. That's stupid. Which was given more money to help the United States go after high earning and corporate tax cheats. And they vowed to repeal the corporate tax increases that President Biden signed into law in August of 2022, while gutting funding for the Internal Revenue Service. Republicans want to gut funding for the Internal Revenue Service, which was given more money to help the United States go after high earning and corporate tax cheats. No wonder they're trying to help their buddies out, Republicans. quote, the very fact that Republicans are poised to take back majority chambers is an indictment of the policies of this administration, says Senator Bill Cassidy, Republican of Louisiana. Now, Bill Cassidy, if you don't know what he looks like Herman Munster from the Munsters. That's Bill Cassidy. So when you see him, you think of Herman Munster. Bill Cassidy noted that, quote, if you look at the spending that they did on a partisan basis, we certainly would be able to stop that, end quote. No Republican in the House or the Senate voted for the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan that saved the economy. When it came time to invest in America, invest in people, save the economy, every last one of the Republicans voted against rescuing America. But while Republicans insist that they will be better stewards of the economy, few economists on either end of the ideological spectrum expect the party's proposals to meaningfully reduce inflation in the short term. Instead, many say some of what Republicans are proposing, including tax cuts for high earners and businesses, could actually make price pressures worse, by pumping more money into the economy. What they're saying is Republicans don't have a plan to deal with inflation. Their policies are going to make things worse. And also, if they hold the debt ceiling as hostage to try to force Biden to agree to cuts to Social Security benefits and Medicare, that's going to negatively impact African-American seniors, our parents, our grandparents, our great-grandparents. They will hold the economy hostage to do this. Quote, it is unlikely that any of the policies proposed by Republicans would meaningfully reduce inflation in 2023 when rapidly rising prices will still be a major problem for the economy and for consumers, said Michael R. Strain, an economist at the conservative American Enterprise Institute. On Wednesday, Republicans on the House Ways and Means Committee held a virtual meeting where they detailed plans to make the 2017 tax law provisions permanent, billing the move as a crucial step toward improving the nation's economy. Improving the nation's, it's not going to improve the nation's economy. It's going to help their billionaire donors. Quote, as we look forward to the strong probability of an upcoming recession, there is new urgency to preserve these pro-growth policies, said Representative Vern Buchanan, Republican of Florida. As they position themselves for the midterm elections, Republicans have also indicated that they might try to hold the nation's borrowing limit hostage to achieve spending cuts. That's the debt limit, the debt ceiling. They will hold the nation's ability to borrow hostage to achieve their spending cuts to Social Security and Medicare to screw seniors over. The debt ceiling, which caps how much the federal government can borrow, has increasingly become a fraught arena for political brinksmanship. Multiple top Republicans have signaled that unless President Joe Biden agrees to reduce future government spending, which is government investment, they don't want to invest in people. If Republicans control both the House and the Senate, you would not have $5.8 billion going to HBCUs in 2021, which is a record amount of funding that HBCUs received in 1 year, because $3.6 billion came from the American Rescue Plan, and no Republicans in the House or the Senate voted for the American Rescue Plan. Multiple top Republicans have signaled that unless President Joe Biden agrees to reduce future government spending, they will refuse to lift the borrowing cap. That would effectively bar the federal government from issuing new bonds, okay, U.S. bonds, to finance its deficit spending, potentially jeopardizing on-time payments for military salaries and safety net benefits like WIC, food stamps, safety net benefits, and roiling bond markets. What Republicans are willing to do is destroy the economy to make cuts to Social Security and Medicare, while at the same time giving more tax cuts to the wealthy. This is their economic plan. This is what they want to do. They're telling you they're going to destroy the economy. President Biden has tried to push back against Republicans. They're about to screw more people than porno stars. I'm telling you right now. If Republicans win, they're going to screw more people than porno stars. President Biden has tried to push back against the Republicans and cast the election not as a referendum on his economic policies, but as a choice between Democratic policies to reduce costs on health care and electricity, which is in the Inflation Reduction Act, and show that between a choice between that and Republican efforts to repeal those policies. And no Republican in the House or the Senate voted for the Inflation Reduction Act, voted to help seniors save money on the cost of insulin, voted to bring down the cost of energy for families and things like this, while they run around and scream about inflation. And none of them are talking about 54% of inflationary costs are because of corporate profits, which means corporate greed. President Biden has accused Republicans of stoking further price increases with tax cuts that could add to the federal budget deficit and of risking financial calamity by refusing to raise the debt limit. I thought these were fiscal conservatives. They're willing to destroy the economy. And you think elections don't have consequences. Read this article here from the New York Times. Republicans denounce inflation, but few economists expect their plans to help because they're not going to help. They'll help the wealthy with more tax cuts. They're going to screw everybody else. Also read this here. This is at whitehouse.gov because we're about to get out of here. I've got to go. This is at whitehouse.gov. Talked about it numerous times. It's updated June 19th, 2022. This is the new one. It's now 22. And I was trying to, on Roland Martin Unfiltered, I wanted to mention this, but Roland and Dr. Cleo Monago were going back and forth, and I didn't get a chance to squeeze this in. Because this is the evidence. People ask, well, what did we get? How the policies help? Things like this. Now, if the people you watch on social media don't talk about this, then what the hell did they talk about? The ones that try to talk about politics? Because I'm the only one that talks about this document. I've been talking about it since it was first updated October 2021. Then it was updated February 28th, 2022. Now it's updated June 19th, 2022. Fact sheet: the Biden-Harris administration advances equity and opportunity for Black Americans and communities across the country. This goes through and shows you how the policies, step by step, are helping African Americans, from the American Rescue Plan to the infrastructure bill, providing immediate relief to Black people and families through the American Rescue Plan. American Rescue Plan in 2021, it cut Black child poverty by 33%. And it lifted more than 1 million African-American children out of poverty in December 2021 alone. Now, the child tax credit expired it needs to be extended. It needs to be renewed and extended. So Democrats have to maintain control of the House so you can get the bill passed again in the House in the 118th Congress, when the new Congress gets sworn in, probably right around January 3rd. And they need to maintain control of the Senate and get at least 2 more Democratic senators so you can break the filibuster. You can do a carve out to the filibuster. You can change the filibuster rules to get this passed. The $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan included the child tax credit, which cut Black child poverty by 33%, lifting more than 1 million African-American children out of poverty in December 2021 alone. A time-limited expansion of the child tax credit provided a critical lifeline to millions of African-American families during the nation's recovery from the economic crisis created by the pandemic. So I find it interesting where Republicans come with all these great ideas, but they kept overwhelmingly voting against policies that were beneficial for us. Reversing decades of disinvestment through the bipartisan infrastructure bill. 19 Republicans out of 50 in the Senate voted for the bill, and 13 Republicans out of like 212 voted for it in the House. Yeah, it's bipartisan, but overwhelmingly Republicans voted against the bill. In the infrastructure bill, it addresses the lack of investment has fallen in infrastructure, has fallen most heavily on Black communities and other underserved communities. The bipartisan infrastructure law will replace lead pipes like in Flint, Michigan, that's predominantly African American, increase access to training and good quality jobs, expand affordable high-speed internet even in rural areas, and 25% of African Americans live in rural America. It expand reliable public transit and clean drinking water. It'll reconnect Black neighborhoods divided by legacy highway infrastructure. So $105 million is coming to Detroit to remove I-375 freeway, which ran through Black Bottom in 1964, the Black Bottom community, and wiped out African-American homes. Okay. And then I-75 ran through an adjacent community called Paradise Valley, which was our entertainment district, where you had nightclubs and African-American owned businesses. This was the result of the U.S. Interstate Highway Acts of 1952 and 1956 that drove 41,000 miles of interstate highways across the country, and they ran through 1,600 African-American communities. During the 20th century, federally funded infrastructure projects too often segregated and harmed low-income communities, especially predominantly Black neighborhoods. Construction of the federal highway system, in particular, cut off once thriving Black communities from resources and opportunities. The bipartisan infrastructure bill launches a new Reconnecting Communities program, which will invest $1 billion in these communities to build new and more inclusive infrastructure. So go through and read this. This is breaks it down category by category to deal with leveraging federal procurement to help Black entrepreneurs and Black families build wealth. I think this one includes the Emmett Till anti-lynching bill, and I think Jessica Ketanji Brown Jackson has mentioned it here also. Extending a lifeline to struggling small businesses. They go through and deal with that. Ensuring Black homeowners get full value for their homes. This deals with home appraisals and property appraisals, okay, and the discrepancies there. Protecting Black Americans' access to housing by combating housing discrimination. That's under HUD, Marsha Fudge and HUD. Helping Black Americans President Biden's American Rescue Plan has helped Black Americans stay in their home by providing emergency rental assistance. Of the $25 billion in rental assistance that was spent in 2021, African Americans were the largest group that received this help, representing more than 40% of aid recipients to help African Americans stay in their homes. No Republicans in the House or the Senate voted for this bill. African Americans were the largest group that received this help, representing more than 40% of aid recipients. So you want some tangibles? Read this here. Assisting African American landowners in resolving title issues. An estimated 60% of Black-owned land in the South is heirs property that passes through inheritance without a will, and that as a result has historically rendered owners ineligible for U.S. Department of Agriculture programs, including lending. In July 2021, the USDA, U.S. Department of Agriculture, rolled out the heirs property relending program, which primarily aids underserved communities, including African Americans. The new program provides funds to assist heirs in resolving ownership and succession issues on farmland with multiple owners. Reducing barriers for Black communities facing natural disasters. This deals with climate change. We talked about Marnese Jackson. Talked to Marnese Jackson about. Supporting child care providers and reducing child care costs for Black families. The American Rescue Plan provided a $39 billion lifeline to help child care providers stay open and compensate early childhood educators as they provide safe and healthy environments for children and help parents work. States have already delivered American Rescue Plan stabilization grants to more than 190,000 child care providers, 1 in 5 of whom are African American, or 20%, serving more than 8 million children and their families. Read the rest of this, because I'm the only one that talks about this. I talk about it on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Talk about it here on the African History Network show. Haven't heard nobody on MSNBC, not Joanne Reed. I'm the one that told Reverend Al Sharpton this existed. I was calling to the show, and we talked about it. I mentioned it when he had me on the show for 2 hours, co-hosting the show about 3 months ago. His radio show, Keeping It Real. The Biden-Harris administration advances equity and opportunity for Black Americans and communities across the country. Now, don't compare Democrats or the Biden-Harris administration to perfection. Don't compare them to the almighty. Compare them to the alternative. The alternative are Republicans. Compare their policies to what Republicans are proposing, and compare their policies to the policies that Republicans voted for and voted against. And you'll see overwhelmingly Republicans voted against policies that were beneficial to us. Go to congress.gov. And these the various bills, look up these bills, congress.gov. Look up these bills, and you'll see that overwhelmingly everything from the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, a lot of them voted for the Emmett Till anti-lynching bill because it was blocked previously by Senator Rand Paul from Kentucky. But the Voting Rights Act, the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act passed the House of Representatives March 2021 by a vote of 220 to 212. All the Republicans voted against the bill. And Senator Tim Scott in the Senate lied, and he blocked it in the Senate. The one Black Republican senator is the one who blocked the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. I mean, with the support of Mitch McConnell and senior senator from South Carolina, Lindsey Graham. Go to congress.gov. You can read those bills there. Okay, look, we have to get out of here. You can support us, $ the AHN show through Cash App, $ the AHN show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show. And this, let me post the link here also here. This is at whitehouse.gov. The Biden-Harris administration advances equity and opportunity for Black Americans and communities across the country. This is at whitehouse.gov. Now, as we have talked about numerous times on the show before, race-based policies are illegal at the federal level, and most states have laws against race-based policy, meaning that it's illegal to have policies for only one race of people. You got policies that disproportionately benefit African Americans, or you got policies, set aside policies for minorities. But it's illegal to have race-based policies or policies that benefit only one group of people. And the reason why is because of Title VI of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, that you can read at archives.gov, and I encourage everybody to read it. Non-discrimination and federally assisted programs. That's Title VI. We're going to wrap up with this. This is why it's important to understand law. This is why people have no understanding really of reparations, because what they want is illegal. They think they want cash payments for all African Americans. That's illegal. Race-based policies are illegal. That's why in California, they have a similar law in California, which is why they made it the California Reparations Task Force. And this is something that we'll talk about at the Michigan Decarbonization Equity Summit. When I'm on the panel on Wednesday, November 2nd, this is something we'll talk about. Because people don't really understand the legal limitations on reparations and how to really get reparations legally, so it's not overturned in court. Title VI of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. So this is right here, archives.gov, U.S. National Archives, 1964 Civil Rights Act. Non-discrimination and federally assisted programs, section 601. No person in the United States shall, on the ground of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. So you can make something, so for instance, like when Japanese Americans receive what people call reparations for the being in U.S. internment camps from 1942 to 1946. And people call that reparations, okay? Now, what they got was $20,000, a one-time payment of $20,000. And people often say, oh, Japanese Americans got reparations. The question they should ask is, which Japanese Americans got reparations? But you really have to understand this to understand the questions to ask. So if we look at this here, justice.gov, it breaks down what happened. that only went to approximately 82,250 Japanese Americans. That is all Japanese Americans that were in the country. That went specifically to those who were put into the internment camps. Okay, this is at justice.gov. We pull this up, then we have to get out of here. Oh, this is that dumbass Dave Paddock that trolls Roland. I'm gonna tell Roland about dumbass Dave Paddock also. Just had to block his dumbass. A 10-year program to compensate Japanese Americans interned during World War II closes its doors. Okay, this goes through and breaks down everything. So justice.gov is the official website of the Department of Justice. Okay, now this is from Friday, February 19th, 1999. This announces the closing of the program because it was only open for 10 years. It says, after paying, so this is what Japanese Americans got. Contrary to what people think they got, this is what they got. After paying out more than $1.6 billion to more than 82,250 persons of Japanese ancestry who were interned during World War II, the Justice Department's Office of Redress Administration has officially closed its doors. The redress program, which was established by the Civil Liberties Act of 1988, acknowledges, apologizes, and makes restitution for the fundamental injustice of the evacuation, relocation, and internment of Japanese Americans during World War II. The Justice Department's Office of Redress was charged with administering the 10-year program, which by operation of law officially closed February 5th, 1999. Since the program's inception, the program provided $20,000 in redress to 82,219 eligible claimants, totaling more than $1.6 billion. In order to have been eligible for restitution, an applicant had to have been alive on August 10th, 1988. They had to be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident alien during the internment period, December 7th, 1941 to June 30th, 1946. They had to be a person of Japanese ancestry or the spouse or parent of a person of Japanese ancestry, and they had to have been evacuated, relocated, intended, or otherwise deprived of liberty or property as a result of federal government action during the internment period and based solely on their Japanese ancestry. So they had to have been one of those put in internment camps or one that had to be relocated or evacuated to get the money. It did not apply to all Japanese Americans in the U.S. between 1988 to 1999. It didn't apply to the descendants of those who were put into internment camps, unless the children were with the parent and put into the internment camp. But like future generations that were born after like 1940, during after that time. So they were born in 1950. They don't get this. They were not put into internment camps. It did not apply to the future generations and things like this. No, it was very specific. And that went to 82,219. With African Americans and reparations, all the last of the former slaves died in the 1950s. All the last of the former slaves died in the 1950s. So people don't even understand how reparations is really going to work legally. Because this is one of the examples that they give for why African Americans should get reparations. And I'm all for it, but I'm for we have to make legal arguments for reparations. Most of the arguments that are being made are not legal arguments, and the examples that people give of other people getting reparations don't even apply to us, because this went directly to those who were put into the internment camps, not future generations. It went directly to those who were harmed. This is some of the stuff that I'm going to deal with at the conference, because we don't understand that we don't understand. All right, I have to get out of here. Remember, right now it's correct, wrong behavior is not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you next week. Peace.